Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. An all-Australian heavyweight affair between Demsey McKean and Lucas Browne for 2020 is seemingly off, with Lucas Browne apparently not wanting the fight anymore. So McKean's promoter, Angelo Di Carlo, has come out in public, and I'll get to this and I'll go through the statements and the stuff that he's produced. He is saying that Browne doesn't want to fight McKean, he wants to fight overseas and then retire. So this is disappointing for a number of reasons, because this was going to be a good indication of where Demsey McKean really was at. We know where Lucas Browne is at this point in his career. He's a past prime 40-year-old fighter on the decline, but he's still got power. He's still managed to get some journeymen out of there in his last couple of fights. But McKean, he's a guy who's on the rise, unbeaten, looking to take the mantle from Lucas Browne as the next Australian heavyweight, the figurehead for Australian heavyweights. But seemingly that is not going to come to pass. So see here on screen. So this is from Demsey McKean's Facebook page. So his statement, I'll get to that soon, but first the Angelo Di Carlo stuff. So here is actually, this is part of the documentation that Di Carlo has put up in public. This is of Browne and McKean having agreed to fight. They had signed an agreement to fight. And you can see here, Lucas Browne had signed it 28th of November. And just for some context, what I'll do now is, so you may recall a number of weeks ago, both McKean and Browne's opponents for their upcoming fights, which were going to be either in November or December, I can't remember exactly when, they pulled out, and McKean had actually called out Lucas Browne and said, hey, why don't you come and fight me at a week's notice? Let's get it on. Browne, in response, put out a video saying, look, we're going to be fighting next year. Why would I fight you at 1 week's notice? But he was keen to fight next year, and this is the evidence of it.
I got a message, had a big long message with Angelo Di Carlo, and confirmed that we're going to fight in March next year and to send me the contract. It's March next year. Everyone's saying they want to see it. Well, that's great, but it'll be March next year when I've agreed to it by Angelo Di Carlo, his promoter. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but March next year, myself and Demsey. Enjoy.
So we know Browne was targeting the fight. He'd signed the agreement, as Angelo Di Carlo has produced in the documentation he's made public. But then Di Carlo has also got a statement, which I will just go through now, and then on to a few thoughts. So Angelo Di Carlo says, it's no secret that Demsey McKean has been chasing a fight with Lucas Browne for a couple of years. In fairness, 2 years ago, Lucas said it was too early and that Demsey needed to win more fights. I tended to agree with him, so Demsey went on his way and racked up more wins over the course of the last 2 years. He is now 17-0, 11 KOs. He is also world rated with the WBO, sitting at number 13. After a lengthy period of negotiation with Lucas, we finally got the deal done recently. We paid him what he wanted, and it's good money for an Australian boxing fight. The contract was signed by both boxers. Signing section of contract attached. That's what I just showed you earlier. And we commenced getting promotional posters done up, and we'll quickly look at that. So this whole thing was pretty far down the garden path. They'd gone to the extent of, you can see here on screen, this is the promo poster talking March the 7th, costs and all sorts of bits and pieces. This was effectively, in the eyes of Angelo Di Carlo, a done deal. Probably to be announced very shortly in terms of all these details, including the release of this boxing poster, etc. But getting back to his statement, Lucas assisted with getting photos done in a pose similar to Demsey for the poster. We also changed it to a bigger venue as we decided to add Liam Paro to the card and create an even bigger event for Aussie boxing. We applied for the bout to be sanctioned for titles with the WBO and IBF. I got confirmation last week that the WBO and IBF had approved both fights. All was travelling beautifully. And then from nowhere this week, Lucas messages me and says he doesn't want the fight, as he doesn't want to fight in Australia anymore. He wants to have a few more fights overseas and then retire. But other than that, there wasn't much of a reason. why the fight couldn't go ahead as planned. I'm aware Lucas has had previous problems with purses, but I offered to pay the person to Lucas's solicitor's trust account now so that he has that peace of mind. I don't know the real reason why Lucas is intending to withdraw from this fight, but it's a shame for Australian boxing and a shame to both boys who could have used this big domestic fight to catapult their careers. I guess we may never know why Lucas doesn't want the fight, but let it be known Demsey and our team did everything to make the deal happen and to promote his big fight. That is Angelo De Carlo. That is Demsey McKean's promoter. And further up here, so McKean had obviously shared this post with the poster. Also the fight agreement, which you can see Lucas Browne had signed, and then De Carlo's statement. So McKean himself says, weak as piss behaviour, no reasons and no excuse, not a worthy opponent after all. So obviously McKean and his promoter Angelo De Carlo doing a name and shame on Lucas Browne here, trying to expose him as having walked away at the 11th hour when the fight had been agreed, the promo posters, the venue, everything had been locked in, and now he doesn't want it. Well, that is according to Angelo De Carlo. So Lucas Browne, in terms of his activity on social media, statements and such, haven't seen anything so far from him on his social media at the time this was recorded. And I did go check his Instagram story, and he had been active on social media, just not in relation to this issue. So maybe he will come out at some point. Expect to hear something in due course from Lucas Browne, but Demsey McKean disappointed. Angelo De Carlo clearly disappointed and probably spent a decent amount of money into this event already. You know, booking the venue, the poster, all the other bits and pieces, all the things that need to happen logistically to make a big event happen. Time and money seemingly down the drain at this point. And you have to ask the question, so if this is actually confirmed that Lucas Browne doesn't want it, what's gone on here? I guess the first thing to sort of speculate on is perhaps Lucas Browne has just had a bigger and better offer from somewhere overseas, most likely the UK. Lucas Browne has made no secret that he loves fighting in the United Kingdom, and even though he was talking about this fight with Demsey McKean, he was still talking about looking for fights in the UK, and maybe there is going to be something with him and David Price. That is a guy he's been calling out on social media in recent weeks. After Price lost to Derek Chisora, Lucas Browne seems to want that fight, and perhaps maybe he's been tempted by some sort of contract. Maybe they will have that as a co-main event, or third or fourth on the bill on a decent card. I could see that happening, and maybe the money is just overall going to be better. But you'd have to ask, if Browne has pulled out of this fight, as is being claimed by Angelo De Carlo, what sort of recourse does De Carlo have, in the sense that, all this time, effort and money has been spent? Can he go after Lucas Browne? I don't know. I don't know the stipulations of the contract, but seemingly at this point he's been left carrying the bag and seeing Lucas Browne potentially go off and fight elsewhere, not in Australia, probably in the UK. That would be my pick. And if that ends up happening, maybe there is nothing that De Carlo can do here, hence the vent on social media, issuing the statement, the signed agreement with Lucas Browne's signature there, and the promo poster. So this was pretty far down the garden path, as I mentioned. It's disappointing. For McKean, it was an opportunity to look good against a aging fighter, potentially get a good victory and get some more impetus for his career, because at this point, still not a big name in the heavyweight division, but this could have been a stepping stone to something bigger. I guess we may not see this one, but what do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.